Hello and welcome to the Walk in Love podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Brooke.
And today we are going to talk about what kids need. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making us a part of your week. The Walk in Love podcast is a weekly conversation between Brooke and I as we talk about parenting, marriage, faith, emotions, rhythms. It's a place where we laugh and sometimes cry as we try to find language to live a more joy-filled life. And if you are looking for a joy-filled life, you're in the right place.
I agree.
So what you got, babe?
Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
12 thumbs up.
1,000 thumbs up.
Is that from something?
June says it after she really likes a movie.
Oh, 1,000 thumbs up.
Yeah.
That's a lot of thumbs up.
Speaking of thumbs up, we have 732 reviews at last check.
Wow.
Wow.
What?
Wow. We are, what's 732 minus 1,000?
I don't know. We're close to 1,000 people.
Close to 1,000. 200 and
something.
69?
I don't know. I forget the original number already.
Yeah. 269 reviews away from our 1,000, which is our goal. So if you haven't listened, and I know there's more than 1,000 people that listen weekly. I see the numbers, people. I see it. So here are your 2 options. You can go click, 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 and leave a review. Or you can go click, 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 send your favorite episode to a friend.
Ooh.
You are the reason the podcast has grown.
Yeah.
Like, it's very rare that I find a direct message that was like, I saw an Instagram reel and now I'm a listener.
Yeah.
It's almost always a friend recommended X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And now I listen. So maybe all the work I do on those Instagram reels is pointless. Does my life have meaning?
Maybe we should just start texting our friends.
Yes. So again,
to get to 1,000 thumbs up.
1,000 reviews.
Right.
You can put your thumbs up in the review. That's your option. I'm gonna leave the review place, review writing. Actually, why don't you go to Chatty? Why don't you go to ChatGPT?
Here you go. Have a robot write the
Here's
review for you.
Okay, now we're cooking with gas. Okay. Here's what I want you to do. And I'm going to do it right now. Go to ChatGPT.
Okay.
You don't need to pay for it.
Right.
Write a review of the Walk in Love podcast.
Oh boy.
With Brooke and TJ because it makes me laugh, cry, and sometimes fart.
Ooh, okay.
So that's what I want. I want something like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get Chatty working on that.
Okay.
Because if I read 200 and whatever I just said reviews written by a robot, I think I might make me laugh. So
the question is, how would they all be similar? Are people going to go leave similar reviews?
Maybe.
But then that makes it look like it's spam and they're not real.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Well, I'm actually asking.
This is a long
I don't
review.
know. Well, I don't want to. You can't be that long. How long? Oh, it's still going. Wow. Wow.
It's still going, but I'm going to read it.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still going. I might skip some of it.
Yes,
okay.
Please do.
Still going. Oh, to sum it up.
Oh, just read that part.
Now it's still typing. Okay. Title, A Joyful Roller Coaster of Emotions, the Walk in Love podcast.
Okay, wow.
5 stars. Thanks, chat. I didn't tell it to give me 5 stars.
No, but it did.
It did. So
it knows.
AI even knows.
It knows.
The Walk in Love podcast, hosted by Brooke and TJ, is truly a unique listening experience that will leave you laughing, crying, and yes, even occasionally farting. It has become an essential part of my weekly routine, and I cannot recommend it enough to anyone in search of a heartwarming and hilarious podcast. Brooke and TJ's dynamic is nothing short of infectious.
Ooh.
Yeah, baby.
I don't know if I want to be described as infectious.
They have an
anymore.
Uncanny ability to make you feel like you're sitting right there with them, sharing stories and engaging in thought-provoking conversation. Their humor is genuine, and they never shy away from sharing their vulnerabilities, making it easier to relate to their experiences and perspectives.
Wow.
Each episode is like a roller coaster of emotion, taking you on a journey through laughter, tears, and surprisingly, even the occasional bodily function.
Hey, that part's kind of true.
Their storytelling is captivating, and their openness to discuss personal experience and deep feelings leaves you feeling connected and invested in their lives. Not only do Brooke and TJ cover a wide range of topics, from relationships and parenting to pop culture and current events, but they also seamlessly incorporate their faith into their discussions, providing a refreshing and thoughtful perspective on life's challenges. To sum it up, the Walk in Love podcast is a brilliantly executed emotional roller coaster that will keep you coming back for more. It's a rare gem in the podcast world, offering a perfect blend of humor, vulnerability, and genuine connection. If you haven't yet subscribed, do yourself a favor and join the ever-growing fan base of this laugh-out-loud, tear-jerking, and sometimes fart-inducing podcast.
As always, it's spookily close.
Yeah. So what I think you could do is, write a 3-sentence review.
Yes. And then have it add to it. Wow.
So
that was something.
ChatGPT.
So is today's sponsor our podcast? Is it Inception?
No, you have a sponsor. I just got sidetracked because I actually did just look at the reviews and I saw that it was like, 731 or 32 or somewhere in the 730s.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not very far from.
No.
Especially, if I do a call.
Yeah.
Or I could ask.
Call to action.
Okay, you read I'm going to work on something right now.
Okay. No, for realsies though, the actual sponsor of today, which is always us, is my beauty counter business. And so it is April, if you are listening to this. Well, if you're listening to this in like real time. And typically, we always have our big friends and family sale in April. I have not had this confirmed 100%, as in I don't know the dates yet, but I do believe it is happening in April, which means a few things. The main thing it means is that if you want to try samples of something, unfortunately, we're sold out of the foundation samples right now. So that's like a major bummer. But any of the other skincare stuff and a few of the other skincare products, if you want to try them before you buy them, request your samples now so that we have time to mail them to you. You can try them, decide what you like, all before the friends and family sale rolls around. And then you get, Black Friday level savings. So yeah, I always love the friends and family sale. It just seems like a really smart time to shop and a smart time to either dive in for the first time or restock everything you love, because why not get it all at a discount? Right?
Amen.
That's
Amen.
always
Hallelujah.
better. Yeah.
And the link to your beauty counter business is always in our show notes.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Write a 3-sentence text like Donald Trump about the Walk in Love podcast so I can send to a friend.
Okay.
Okay. This also works for reviews.
Okay.
Let's just have some fun, people.
Yeah.
Just found the best podcast ever. It's called Walk in Love, hosted by Brooke and T.J. They're tremendous, believe me. They'll have you laughing, crying, and sometimes even farting. Yes, Donnie farts sometimes. Everyone's talking about it. You got to listen. It's going to be huge.
Donnie? Did it actually
No,
say
I
that?
added that part.
I was like, oh my word.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So there you go. You all right there? You're
No,
rolling
I'm
around.
not. I'm trying to get my chair. What is going? There we go.
There we go. It was the lug nut. Fixed it.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, that's so much better.
How was your week, my darling wife?
My week happened. It happened.
It did happen.
I don't know. What did we do? What did we
do?
was
Phoebe there?
I'm sort of remembering now.
Yeah.
Actually,
It's all
that's a lie.
coming back.
I'm not remembering.
It's coming back.
What
to
I am
me
remembering
now.
is that it's Thursday, and I had a few things on my list this week that were like what matters most priorities, and I did get those done.
We recorded on Sunday, so there's also that.
Oh, that's happening.
So I think that's throwing you off.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what I did since the last time I sat down here.
Matt, Ben,
We had people in our house. That's right.
and Andrew were all here
Yes.
enjoying the island of Maui.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this, I drove them to the airport a couple of days ago. They were great. And I've said this many, many times. Not that guests with kids are hard.
No, it's just different.
It's just different. But so when you have guests without kids, you're like, oh man, are there even people staying in my house? That's kind of the vibe. But they also play with our girls. So it's like
Extra
nice helpers, and we can have conversations because someone else can answer their questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's an interesting thing. And this is why we had that whole podcast episode called The Life Changing Habit of Travel. So we're driving back to the airport And I asked them, and I kind of asked this to every guest that comes and stays with us. What's your Mount Rushmore of the trip? If you look back at this trip, what are you carving into stone?
Yeah.
So you can remember it. And they hemmed and hawed and made some jokes, and we're genuine guy talk.
Yeah.
And then they listed some off. And then I asked the question, which this is sort of like my encouragement to our audience. Maui always brings a sort of aha epiphany moment. I think there's something so magical about traveling to the Hawaiian Islands. And I think it produces some sort of just like
clarity,
deep reflection.
You start asking a question you didn't know you needed to ask.
Especially if you come and have a trip like they did. They didn't cram every single thing they could have done into every single day. They took naps on the beach.
Yeah.
They drove up country. Like they did a lot of stuff, but it wasn't go, which is what I would recommend. Like when people ask, I'm coming to Maui, what do I do? My honest first response is be still.
Yeah. Do some things, but don't do all the things.
Yeah. And it's just cool because they all gave an answer. They all had an answer. These are 20-something guys.
Yeah.
None of them are married. And I just thought that was really cool. And it was, again, a reminder of how important travel is. And also just a plug to put it on your bucket list to come to these islands.
Yeah.
I think it is worth it. It lives up to the hype. And I think it does something extra to you.
It's very far away.
Yeah.
So when you're here, you do feel not like disconnected in a bad way, but you do feel a little removed, which is, I think, sometimes helps with like the noise of life and the clarity. Like you feel like you can think a little more easily or whatever.
So,
and it's so pretty. It's so beautiful. And that really does do something. God created the world. He created the beautiful world. He cares about beauty. He cares about all that kind of stuff. And so like, it does have like, clarifying, healing, like it matters.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, and it's nice out. Like,
the wind's always blowing. It's and I know it's expensive. And so put it in your digit now.
But it's nice that you're not going international.
Opportune. They changed the name.
Oh, they changed the name.
Which is also linked in the show notes. It's a savings app that we use, which will also be featured on this Friday Finds. So travel back in time.
Right.
Watch the video on Friday.
Yeah.
And you'll hear about the app. So that was good. They were here. It's Abby's last week.
Yeah.
Our babysitter Abby is moving off of island and getting married and starting her life with her soon to be husband. And we are super, super excited for her. And so we've kind of just been celebrating her a little bit.
Yeah.
But it definitely will change our rhythm and our dynamic and the way that we work and do things. And that's okay. That happens in life. And you got to just sort of roll with it. And there will be some places of tinkering with the rhythm. But that's just part of life.
I often feel, though, excited for whatever season is next, or like excited to kind of tinker around with it. And I'm someone who craves a lot of consistency, but I don't know. I don't want to be in the same season forever.
And we are also aren't like, you tell someone, oh, our babysitter's moving. Oh, like you would get that response.
Yeah.
And we just don't ever really give those responses.
Right.
So to us, it's, we're sad and there's elements of it that we're definitely going to miss, but it's not this tragedy that's taking place.
Life altering.
And so I think it's always good to sort of have that perspective when something like that is changing or when the rhythm's changing. So that's happening. Today's her last day actually. So we'll now have to record during naps and figure something out, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And yesterday, June, Sunny, and I went to see the Mario movie.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic. Great family movie. Obviously, we live in a culture where media corporations are trying to shove
lots of things.
Fringe messaging. That's how I'll say it.
Okay.
Fringe messaging down your family's throat. Constantly, to the point where I don't feel safe letting my kids just pick something to watch
without reading or watching
it or
first.
screening it. And so the Mario movie was just a good, family-friendly, entertaining movie. And it'll be interesting to see. This is sort of just my like general interest in media, that we have Disney on this side, sort of just, they're almost doubling down. Yeah. They've had terrible releases, but Bob Iger, who's their old CEO, is now their new CEO, has basically just been like, no, we're just going to stay the course.
Right.
So you have them on one side. And people don't go to Disneyland to see the turning red.
We've talked about this
character.
Yeah. Right.
You know, they go to see Cinderella and
Woody
and Aladdin and all these sort of old properties that they have.
Yeah.
So you have that on one side. And then you have Universal, which I think owns Illumination. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think they do. And they don't seem to be going down this road, you know, with the Minions and this Mario movie.
Yeah, and it's like, I wouldn't say every movie they do is like, wow.
Yeah, because I'm not a huge Minion fan.
No.
They're a little bit obnoxious for me.
But they are not going down the let's shove it down your throat all the time.
Yeah.
Street.
And so it'll be interesting to see what the next like 10 years looks like. It, you know, because Disney is definitely not in a healthy
great place.
Yeah. Financially, it would appear. And my prediction is that this Mario movie does over $1 billion.
Yeah.
And so
that in and of itself is a mind-blowing
statement. It's just interesting to me. But if you are a fan of going to the movies with your kids, which I love to do, which makes it challenging when you want to do something like that, when you're just worried or you read something and you're just like, I don't want to sit there and either, you know, I just don't want my kids to see this stuff. Yeah. And so Mario is a safe one to do that. And it's funny. And as a kid who I remember getting, I really remember getting our Super Nintendo. That was like an iconic moment in our lives. And as a kid who's grown up playing all the Nintendo games and all the Mario games, it was kind of like a dream come true.
Yeah.
I actually, this is the only time I've ever felt this in the movie theater. I wanted to pause it on the big screen.
Yeah.
So that I could just see the different areas. So
you could look at the whole screen.
Screen, because there were so many, and I'm sure I didn't even catch half of them, all these little Easter eggs. And
what is an Easter egg?
An Easter egg is like a really popular Easter egg is in every Pixar movie, you'll see the little ball with the stripe and the star. You'll see the Pixar ball, or you'll see a 1114.
113.
113. 112? I think it's 114.
I think it's 113.
Okay. I'm going to look it up.
You see the number, that number in every single Pixar one. Yeah. Because that was the conference room that they came up with all the ideas.
That was the conference room, which they came up with all the ideas except the recent ones.
Yeah.
No, you're right. A113.
Yeah.
Well done, babe.
Thanks.
So that's an Easter egg. And so Nintendo obviously has such a treasure trove of Easter eggs to pull from. So I'm excited to watch it again.
I'm excited to see it. I didn't go.
And then there's an end credit scene. Actually, before I get to that, Chris Pratt does a great job. Charlie Day as Luigi is like the perfect voice cast.
Yeah. He's very funny.
Jack Black as Bowser, again, perfect. Seth Rogen, who I'm not a huge fan of, was Donkey Kong. Loved him as Donkey Kong. It worked really, really well. And, you know, the only sort of modern movie that they fell into was Princess Peach was perfection, had no real story arc.
Yeah.
And I think this is just sort of modern writing. Female protagonists don't have to overcome anything. And then, and I think modern writers think like, oh, girl power, we're doing it.
She's already overcome it all.
Yeah. And normally
it's like, but I need to see that part of the story to care about her.
Yeah, exactly. And so that makes female protagonists really one-dimensional and flat.
Yeah.
And so that was the only but it was pretty subtle.
Yeah.
Normally what a movie does is they do that, but they only do that by making the main male protagonist kind of like a doofus, dumb.
Right.
See Thor, Love and Thunder. I.e. basically every Star Wars movie that's ever come out since the originals. But yeah, overall, really good.
That was a lot in only 3 days. We only recorded 3 days ago. This is why it's a Sunday and it's Thursday. I mean, that's Tuesday, 4 days.
Wednesday,
but like 3 full days in there. I just showed you 4. Sorry. Wow. I know. I got a headache, so I don't know what's happening right now.
Oh, I didn't know you had a headache.
That's okay.
Okay. Then let's get into it.
Let's go to the mall, everybody.
I'm trying the sound bar over here.
Soundboard.
So I have
Ooh,
like
a sound bar. Oh, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
You put it under your TV.
What did you think it was?
I don't know, but I was like, I'll go to a sound bar.
Does Chat need to write an ad for it?
Take me to the sound bar, which is funny because I don't drink at all.
And you don't like sounds.
And I don't really like sounds, but I just like, my brain thought, hey, you've heard that word before. What is it? And I went to a sound bar as in a location, not the thing that sits under your TV.
Oh, here's something that happened this week. While the guys were here, I took my Xbox out of the closet it's in, attached to our bathroom where I normally play.
Yeah.
And took it downstairs so they could play. And because it was down there, June and Sunny wanted to play a game.
Mm-hmm.
I only have 1 or 2 games that they just couldn't do.
Yeah.
So we start looking for games I can download. We download this game called Unravel, which is
Yarny.
This character Yarny. He's made of yarn, and he like slingshots himself with his yarn. And you go
he
through this
unravels as he walks, constantly leaving a trail of yarn behind him. And eventually he'll run out. So you have to collect more yarn, and he fills himself back up. It's like you just complete it.
Yeah,
to
it's
the
like
end
just
of the
like
level,
a
story puzzle type thing.
Yeah, like it's kind of like a Mario game where you're just going one way.
Yes.
And you're just trying to figure out how to solve the clues to get to the to jump over things, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I started playing this. Well, first I downloaded. I was like, "Do you want to play?" They're like, "No, we just want to watch you." And I'm like,
"Yeah,
okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That adds up for June." And they were so captivated by it.
Yeah.
That they've asked. We've played 3 nights. We played 3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And it was the end of day treat for them.
To watch you complete
a level. To watch
me
play a level of Yarny, which is now, it's called Unravel, but we're calling it Yarny.
Yeah.
But Brooke was like, just look at, I'm playing and I'm casually playing.
Yeah. And I'm like, look at them.
And I turn
your head
and they are just,
they
are so invested.
Next level invested on this sweet little Yarny. Getting past the crabs or getting past,
and he can drown,
or he can die.
So,
I mean, it's very it's not intense. You just the screen goes black and you start over back where you were.
But Sunny was like, "Dad, is he really dead?" I'm like, well, no. I mean, no. I don't know if you ever was really.
Yeah.
Are we all alive?
Are we in the Matrix?
Yeah. So. Sunny, there's this thing called the Matrix.
Yeah.
We're in it. We're actually in pods fueling machines as batteries.
Yes, obviously.
But during that time, we're here.
We invented Yarny.
And so someone in the Matrix invented Yarny for us to play to distract us from
the
being...
Matrix. Wow. There's also a movie Inception that was made while we were in the Matrix.
So, no, Yarny's not dead. We're just going to respawn and try it again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cute though. But I remember watching, I think we talked about this maybe once a while ago, about how like if you choose the right games and you monitor it like you should, any sort of technology or anything like that in your home.
We've had this conversation with friends. I don't know if we've
ever had it on here. Like you and I, speaking for ourselves, like we are not anti-video game.
No.
At all.
I'm a big fan.
You're a big fan. You still play a lot.
That's why the Mario movie was
so great.
All my dreams come true.
And while I didn't personally play a ton, that wasn't really my personality, and I was just a little bit older than my brother who had it, I sat and watched him play while I was doing something else. I was making a craft, or I was like keeping my hands busy kind of a thing. But I sat in his room for hours and hours and hours, or in the basement with him, like watching him play games more like that. Like these storytelling games
Crash
where you're
Bandicoot,
just trying to get...
Banjo and
Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie 2, also Zelda and the Ocarina, all sorts of things. And it was like very bonding. It really can be this, family-oriented, like just like you would sit and play an actual game, like a board game.
I think that having video games like on a main television screen is going to be less damaging to your kids than giving them a cell phone.
1,000 bajillion million %.
One, it's on a big screen. So then it's instantly monitored because
everybody can see it.
You're walking in and out and all this kind of stuff. And so it's funny. My sister was talking about getting a Nintendo Switch and she was like, what do you think about that? Like, how do you think they'll do? And I'm like, honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Like, they're going to play together.
Right.
They're going to learn how to lose.
Yeah.
sometimes it's not going to go well, and they're going to learn how to win.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's not going to go well.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to see what they're playing. My mom always had a rule, and this was again, years ago. No, we weren't allowed a Game Boy.
No handheld.
We weren't allowed
devices.
the Sega, whatever the Sega one was. Just because she didn't want us all just playing our own thing, which is crazy. Because now that's literally all people do. And so I'm not saying go buy a video game system to bond your family together, but I'm not opposed to it. It is an option. Yeah.
Like it is something you can play, again, when you're using it like that.
Yeah. I'm saving right now in Digit, now opportune, for a Nintendo Switch for that exact reason.
Yeah.
That we can all play together. Maybe it's like a Sabbath thing or it's a Friday night thing because I think there is something fun about playing those types of games with family.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a moment in the movie where, Mario and Luigi, that got me very emotional because they're brothers. And I was like thinking of my brothers and how we played these games together. And I was just like, man, that was cool. So
that is cool. I was always Yoshi.
And then there's an end credit scene.
Don't stop. So there is an end credit scene.
All right.
What are we talking about?
Topic of the day. So
what are we doing?
We're still going through the integrated notes because they're so deep and amazing. And
hearty.
Hearty.
That's not the right word.
Chunky?
Thick? No, not like thick with a K though.
Oh man. I saw this reel. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh no, right now live?
Oh my word. It's not exactly the nicest spirited reel. So I don't approve of the messaging.
Okay.
But
you approve of the laughter though? Or
it's gone.
They took it down?
So it was like Asian plus size stores hit differently. And so it's zooming in on all these signs for an Asian plus size store. And it's like,
I've never heard of such a thing. Well, I guess I don't know why I would.
But they're like in Asia.
Yeah, right.
Somewhere down there. And they're named like, one was named Love Calories.
No.
One was named like Fat Girl. Like
no, that's not real. That's not real. That is not real.
100%. And I was like, what am I watching?
No.
It was like Thai fat.
PH? No. Oh,
love calorie.
Love calorie?
Yeah, just not calories, just love calorie. Because it's like, I don't know if it's more attractive for a store there to be like named in English. I don't know where they were, but it just kept doing it and they were also.
Oh my goodness. That's insane. And it got taken down?
The reel, I guess, got taken down because I sent it to Kelsey.
Of course you did. Oh, man. Okay.
Anyways, I don't know where I got there.
I don't know either. I said thick.
Yeah, thick. I think one of them was called Thick.
Wow.
How is this allowed?
Exactly. But that's where it's like you get into you ever like order something on Amazon and then you read the directions and you're like, yeah, this was translated. Like this does not make sense.
Yeah. Well, our robot vacuum was like that.
Oh, yeah.
All the directions were in Chinese or Japanese or something.
I think it's Japanese, yeah.
And so
Anyway,
if you ever want to go shopping, there's a store called Thick with 2 C's that you can go to.
Wow.
So totally changing subjects. At Integrated, Dr. Josh is a part of Integrated. He usually always teaches sort of on emotional intelligence. This was specifically geared towards your kids. I've spoken so highly of Dr. Josh, and if this is sort of the talk that you're just like, wow, that is amazing. I want more of that. Him and his wife, Christy, are going to be speaking at the Best Is Yet to Come marriage event on July 9th, and it will be invaluable to your marriage.
Yeah.
They've helped thousands of couples. And so not only will I think it be invaluable to your marriage on a like one-to-one communication, but I think it will also just benefit the way you communicate with your children. And there will be some of that thrown in there as well. So he started off by telling this story. He was at a park and he was with maybe just one of his kids. And there was this dad walking, holding one kid over his shoulder. And another kid was 30 feet behind him.
Yeah.
And she was crying.
Mm-hmm.
And he yelled back, "Stop crying and keep up."
Mm.
And that really like just, Josh is like, anytime I see sort of hard parenting to watch in public, like, I don't know if the kid on his shoulder just had a blowout or
you don't know,
but that's always just sort of hard to see.
Yeah, it is hard.
And our kids, so he started with that story to just basically say our kids are always trying to say, "See me, see me, see me, see me." And
Yes.
if you're a parent,
Yes.
this is very apparent
Yes.
when they say, "Mom, mom, 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 mom,
Yes.
mom, look,
Mom,
look. Are you
Look.
looking?
Are you
looking?
watching?
Are you watching? Are you
Mom,
watching?
I
Watch
can't
this.
hold it much longer
Watch
as
this.
mom. And then I'm
Watch
like,
this.
oh gosh, she's serious. She's in a handstand. Okay.
And I'm just going to read some of the notes just as is, and you can kind of just chime in.
Well, I'll try to chime in, but sometimes I don't know what you're connecting.
When we aren't seen, we end up not seeing our kids. And so maybe that person with the kid over his shoulder just felt unseen that day,
Yeah.
by his wife or his boss or, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Josh shared these two sort of visual circles that I'll try to describe as best as I can. One's called the circle of security, parent attending to his child's needs. And so you see this kind of circle. I'll see if I can link this in the show notes. And then there's two hands, and one of them says secure base and one of them says safe haven.
Like kind of coming off of both sides of the circle. Yeah.
And so as you leave secure base, there's like little drawings of kids.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to support my exploration so that we're kind of letting go of our kids, allowing them to explore.
Yeah.
And then there's a kid
Climbing a tree.
Yeah. The first kid is just like pulling a wagon. The second kid's climbing a tree. Watch over me, delight in me, help me, enjoy with me. And then I need you to welcome my coming to you. So then we're kind of circling back towards the safe haven
Side of the circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a girl running towards the hand. I need you to welcome my coming to you. And then there's a kid crying next, and it says, I need you to protect me, comfort me, delight in me, organize my feelings. And so
organize my feelings. How interesting. I've never heard that phrase.
We need to be a secure base to allow our kids to go off and
to leave from
and explore and understand how the world works. And even just like me talking about the movies, part of that being a secure base is like, I'm going to sort of make sure that that's going to be a safe place for you to see that movie or to learn that lesson or all that kind of stuff. And then we also need to be a safe haven when our kids are looking for that sort of comfort, nurturing, protection, and all this kind of stuff. And at the bottom, it says, always be stronger, always be bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind. Whenever possible, follow your child's needs. Whenever necessary, take charge. Again, we're not letting our kids dictate all the things.
I can zoom in, I guess, on mine.
Always be bigger, stronger, wiser, and kind.
Oh, here, yeah. Whenever possible, follow your child's needs. Whenever necessary, take charge. I feel like people often live in one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't think they've named it.
And we talked about it.
They're just so dominant. Take charge.
Yeah.
Do it my way as the parent. Or they're like, whatever you need. And I'm like, what they need is for you to have an opinion and take charge.
And we talk about we want to call our kids to a high standard and also provide high support.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and parents default to one or the other.
Kind of innately.
I default to high support innately. I'm not this sort of, my kids are going to set the table every night because that's their job no matter what.
Right.
And so I've had to sort of challenge myself to call them up to a high standard, but then also provide that high support.
To meet the high support.
Or you might default to a high standard and you have low support, and that's both are going to challenge kids in different ways.
Yeah.
So we often confuse childish behavior with disobedience. I don't think our kids are necessarily always just being disobedient. They're just being kids sometimes.
Yes.
And I think how we react to those moments, and we talk about this with training. If I haven't trained my kid in a certain way, it's not disobedience for them not to behave that way.
Right.
They just don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, just if I haven't trained my muscle in a certain way, it's not a disobedient for it to not work.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, that's a great example. Like, you don't get mad at yourself. I mean, you might in some ways, but like, if you can't lift a certain amount of weight or run a certain distance or whatever, like your body's not being disobedient. It just literally doesn't know how to do that.
It's a baby muscle. It's a child, it hasn't been kind of trained in that. And so I think oftentimes we try to put the cart before the horse in a sense where we haven't trained, and yet we desire the results of training. Mm-hmm. And then when we don't get those results, we think it's disobedience and we lash out or, we don't go back and say, hey.
I also think that sometimes when parents are maybe unknowingly believing or feeling, oh, my kid's disobedient, what they actually say out loud is my kid never listens. I feel like that's what it looks like. Like when I hear a parent saying that and I'm like, okay. And so what you mean by that, like not just literally doesn't hear you, but they're not hearing you and acting. And so you believe that they're being disobedient. Can a kid do that? Absolutely. Yeah. They can ignore you and do that. But yeah, that was one of the things I had when I read over your notes the first time. I was just like, oof, that'll preach. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like they are kids and they will have childish behavior. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference.
Okay. Now he went into a session called 5 Things Our Children Need from Us as Fathers. Mm. And so I believe some of these will, again, we're trying to purify our definition of fatherhood. Yes. So I don't want to just by default say this is all for moms too. Right. Even though I know we have a huge audience of moms. Yeah. But I think what this might do, and again, we're going to read through them. We're going to discuss them. We're going to talk about them. What it might do is it might, as a mom, there might be a little bit of conviction that, hey, maybe I'm stepping on my husband's toes a little bit. Mm. Maybe I'm sort of trying to take over some of his responsibilities. Yeah. There might be some conviction there. There might be some, wow, my husband needs to step up a little bit. Mm. No one's doing this. Right. And so, and there might be, I'm naturally better at this. So what does that look like? And I think that looks like having conversations and, kind of all that kind of stuff. But if you feel like your husband needs to step up, the way to do that isn't by saying, hey, dum-dum, you got to start doing this stuff. Well,
it's literally not by saying, hey, stop crying, keep up.
Yeah. And so if you find yourself feeling like, oh, I wish my husband had this list, mm-hmm. there's probably a way to encourage him in this. There's probably a way to deliver these in micro doses or have really cool conversations about it. Mm-hmm. Not just, hey, I'm going to open up this fire hose, you better start drinking type of thing. So that's just sort of like a...
Yeah. And I also think there's a big difference in the father husband who wants to do these things, but doesn't know where to start or doesn't know what it looked like. That person might be thrilled to be handed a list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like thrilled. And then there's the person who's like, yeah, no thanks. Or like, I don't want that or I'm not interested in that. And that's very different. Yeah. But I think you could, if that's the relationship you have, you could ask, like, I listened to something today about this. Are you you interested in me writing that down for you or whatever?
Start at 38 minutes.
Right.
Okay. So 5 things our kids need from us as fathers. And again, this is part of the integrated notes. He's speaking to a bunch of dads. And there's one main point and then there's a few points underneath. So I'm just going to read them and chime in as you see fit. Okay. They need us to see them.
Number 1.
They need us attuned to we need to be attuned to what our individual children need. Mm. Our kids know we are connected to them. That's just ingrained in them as kids. And as they feel seen, they feel that we got their back. Yeah. And so all of those are, they need to know that we see them.
Yeah. And see them as individuals, not as like a pack of kids that you have. Yeah.
Obviously we're trying to create a strong family culture. So we don't want them to only be individuals, but there are definitely moments where I know that Sunny and June respond differently to different types of instruction. Mm-hmm. And I know that I need to be a little bit more blunt with one than I am the other. Mm. I think when I read this, they need us to see them. There are so many moments in my days where I just don't want to see them. So I feel some conviction over there, but it's also, there's also just a reality to life and there's a reality to work and there's a reality to the rhythm and there's things like that. But I definitely...
Do you mean don't want, like literally with your eyes, you don't want to see them around? Or do you mean like
Like I just want
knowing what it takes for someone to feel seen. You don't want to give that effort in the moment.
In some moments, yeah.
Right,
there are
right,
definitely
right.
moments where I 100% want to give that effort.
Yeah.
But there are obviously moments of selfishness or busyness or laziness where I just want to just be an individual.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to do what I was doing before you asked me to see you.
Right. Yeah.
And one helpful thing, which is actually in Josh's book, Famous at Home, he talks about the question that he likes to ask. Like he had this interview on a podcast and it was like 10 minutes away. And his daughter, I think it was his daughter, asked him if he could do something with her. And what she asked would only take 5 minutes. And so he had to ask himself the question, and this is sort of the habit that he's gotten in, is why not?
Right.
If someone's asking me something, why are the reasons I can't do it?
Yeah.
And if those are valid, like let's say
and you don't rattle them off.
No. But it's a good internal sort of check of your heart.
Yeah.
To determine whether you
actually need to say no.
Yeah.
Or not.
And this has been very helpful to me. So Sunny, our 5-year-old, is very into riding her bike around the loop
of the neighborhood.
The neighborhood. We get asked, I think, 50 times a day.
Probably.
You want to go on a quick loop? You want to go on a quick loop?
Yeah. Sometimes she won't say any words and she'll just use sign language. Yeah. I know what she's saying, but I'm also like, please use your words. Yeah. Please. So helpful.
So there are times where I ask myself, why not?
Yeah.
And I don't have a valid reason. I don't have to be anywhere. If usually she asks me while I'm downstairs, so I've been at my computer, I'm sort of giving myself a break for my eyes and my body to move.
Yeah.
And it's a great break to go outside, ride around the bike. And so I think that there are probably opportunities where we can see our kids better. And I think asking why not when they ask us for something is a really great way.
Take a crazy chance.
I don't know that song.
Hilary Duff.
Oh.
Classic Lizzie McGuire. Why not do a crazy dance?
Oh, wow. And so, yeah, that's just my encouragement to you. I think that one applies to moms and dads. Our kids want us to see them. And so
I think we see them in different ways as moms and dads. But yeah, absolutely.
Number 2, they need to feel our love. This is a really powerful thing for our kids to see us. This is a really powerful thing for our kids to see in us. I don't know what I wrote there.
No. This is a really powerful thing for our kids to see us and love us. Is that what you mean?
Like I think for us to see our kids and love them.
Yeah, I think you have it flipped. But yes.
So there's this big study, and I finally got the name of it. Robert Epstein, a Harvard University study.
Okay.
The number one most effective parenting strategy. So this guy studied families for 30 years or something. Okay. And the kids that turned out the best,
right?
Like emotionally healthy, intelligent, smart, fun,
all well-rounded
kids, grown-ups.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
We're not raising well-rounded 8-year-olds. We're trying to raise well-rounded 80-year-olds.
Yeah.
The number one effective parenting strategy was love and affection. Wow. That those kids experienced love and affection regularly.
Yeah.
Number 2 was how you manage stress as a parent. And number 3 was how you treated your spouse. So the top 3 have nothing to do with discipline, have nothing to do with training, have nothing to do with academics or sports or intelligence or natural skill. It is your kids getting love and affection, you managing stress well, you being emotionally intelligent, not flying off the handle, not
shutting down,
not raging, all this kind of stuff. And then how you treated your spouse, your husband or wife. And so imagine a moment where something stressful happens and you start treating your spouse poorly. Your kids
now you're doing two things that are
and so that to me, and again, I haven't looked at the study, but I just I'm trying to keep up with Josh as typing as I'm taking notes. But those 3, that if you work on those 3 things and you ask the Lord to sort of like take charge of these 3 areas of my life, show me how to guide me into how to show my kids love and affection, guide me into how to manage stress, guide me in the way I treat my spouse. He will.
Yeah.
And you'll be convicted quite often.
Yes.
But your 8-year-old will be a healthy 80-year-old.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how smart they are. Doesn't matter how good they are at things. Doesn't matter how charming they are. They will most likely,
they will be,
statistically, be healthy because you were able to do those 3 things well.
Wow.
Wow.
I need to write those 3 things down somewhere not on my phone that I can see with my eyes.
And I've seen this statistic before.
Yeah.
The single greatest factor to transfer of faith to the next generation is the relational warmth from a father. And if you think about all the people who've deconstructed and all the sort of like kind of fringe nonsense that's entered the church, a lot of it is daddy issues.
Oh yeah.
And so if you as a dad are not relationally warm to your kids, that is something you need to work on. And I remember, so Brian Zemer changed my life.
Changed your life.
We were opening, I get emotional.
It's gonna make me cry.
We were opening Supply, which was one of the biggest things we've ever done.
Yeah, which if you weren't listening then, we renovated an 18,000 square foot building to turn into a co-working
business
space.
Partners who just like believed in us incredibly.
Yeah.
And we were getting ready to open the doors and Brian sat Brooke and I down and he said, "Hey, you guys can come off as cold." And
I wasn't there for this conversation. He was just with you.
Oh. Maybe I put you in there too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know that I can, especially when I don't have my voice.
Yeah. And he's like, "So all I want from you today is to be warm towards the people that come in this building." And I realized that coldness transferred to all areas of my life.
Yeah.
And so I am relationally warmer to my kids because of that conversation.
Yeah.
And now I'm hoping that you are going to be relationally warmer to your kids because of this podcast.
Yeah.
Because it is so incredibly important, especially when you see that the single greatest factor to transfer faith to the next generation is that. I mean, obviously the Lord is sovereign over all of it.
Right.
You know, again, we play a part in that.
Yeah.
So number 1, they need us to see them. Number 2, they need to feel our love. And number 3, let's hammer it home one more time. They need structure and rhythm.
Yes.
A child that doesn't have structure is chaotic. This is where coaching and discipline come into place. Kids need routine.
Yeah.
They need it. They need this for their brains to start thinking straight and act accordingly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we've all seen a kid sort of lose their ish. And so, but again, this is why we started Tiny Rhythms. This is why we created the family plan calendar. There's something in your soul that feels this, that has this longing and need, even as an adult, for rhythm, schedule, routine, discipline.
Yeah.
And it's when we don't live by those things, like,
well, God is a God of order.
Yes.
He's not a God of chaos. And so if we were created in his image, then we were created to desire those things. And so that's literally why.
And so, and we've talked about this extensively. We are summing up all of those things in, I think, in an e-course called Rhythm.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know where you were
Rhythms
going.
Made Simple.
Yes.
So like we're kind of.
You're like, I want to know more about that. And I'm like, okay, listen to episode 68 and then 20 minutes of 59. And then we talk about it again in episode 197. Like, no. We're condensing it all into this e-course so that you can
to go sort of over
rewatch.
Why you need a rhythm. And then the last part of the e-course is going to be how to implement a rhythm.
Yeah.
And so it's both why and how. And, because it's an e-course, we'll update it as we go. And so like if you buy it once, when it becomes available, 2 years from now, we're talking about how to have a rhythm with a 10-year-old. There will probably be some stuff on that.
Yeah.
So it matters to us so deeply. And this, again, best is yet to come marriage event, another place where we will hammer this home. We're having Jeremy Pryor come in because he's the one that sort of mentored us in that.
Gandalf is
going to be there and we're super stoked.
Should I bring him a staff so he can come out and say,
protect the rhythm.
Shall not pass.
Speech,
Bilbo.
And so it's so valuable. And again, we'll launch this e-course, which I think will be a great place to start. And then Brooke has another one called Home Joy, which is then even more sort of practicality specifically
to your
towards homes, and I would say even more specific to moms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But again, kids need that structure. They need that rhythm. And
again,
I'm not just trying to plug all this stuff.
But that's why we make the things we make.
1,000%.
It is connected. Yeah. And I think what's really unfortunate is that so many people hear kids need rhythm or routine. And what they default to is this, like, again, so instead of high support, it's high demand, like an extreme schedule.
Yeah.
That is literally by the clock, and at 8 o'clock and at 8:15 and by 9. And then when that doesn't work, because that's not life.
You're not managing that stress very well.
No, you throw it all out. You feel defeated. You do all these things and you're like, it doesn't work.
It doesn't
work. We can't follow a routine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I, as someone who rarely pushes back, would say, I don't believe that.
That's a lie.
Yeah. I think you're trying to follow the wrong thing or the wrong version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they need us to see them. They need to feel our love. They need structure and rhythm. Number 4, they need a healthy mix of support and challenge. So
hey, there we go.
High value,
high support, high demand.
High demand.
Is that the phrase, demand? Or expectation?
Each
maybe?
child is going to be different. And again, we all, as parent, if you're a parent out there who has 2 kids, or if you're a person who has a sibling, you know that every kid is different.
Yeah.
And so,
which, how cool, right?
So cool.
How cool.
I mean, it's one of my regrets in life that we didn't start having kids earlier. You know, as I've learned all this stuff, as I've seen our girls grow, because I think we would have just been letting them rip.
Yeah, let it rip.
Well,
that did happen.
That did happen.
That's an episode called Courage Over Fear. No, actually, that's the set. Is that?
I think so.
Was it? Maybe yeah.
So they need a healthy mix of support and challenge. Each kid is going to be different. Our kids and culture today are rushed, which is what we were just talking about. This like super high schedule. You have to do all the things, be in all the sports, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sidebar. My little tiny conviction right now in life is that we have too many toys.
Me and you?
Yeah.
Like in
our house. Because I've been getting these reels of parents who've thrown out most of their toys. And
right. Donated, whatever.
Yeah, it definitely has this sort of like convicting element to it. That are my kids even feeling rushed in the amount of choices they have with their toys? Like, is there a subconscious thing going on there that it's like Netflix fatigue? I can watch anything.
Yeah.
But I don't.
So you're either paralyzed and you can't, you never decide and you're panicked, or you bop along between everything.
Yeah, because you have FOMO of this might not be the best show for me. And so anyways, I've just been wrestling with that a little bit lately. Offer them differing support versus challenge based on the situation. So let's like June. Here's a great example. June is scared of heights. So
it's very real.
Very real. I can see it in her body. I don't know if it can be passed down, but it's real for Brooke too.
Yes.
I have a slight discomfort of heights, but I can jump off of a waterfall.
Right.
You would stand up there for hours.
I physically cannot will myself to do it. It's not a matter of like, you're going to be fine, Brooke. Let me talk you through the things. My body will not.
Yeah.
No matter how rational I know, I'm going to be okay.
That's why you'd be a terrible Amazing Race partner.
That's why I would never.
I'm thinking about trying out with Matt.
Oh my word.
I feel like we'd have a good story. You know, I met him when he was in 9th grade.
Is that show still happening?
Probably.
You would think. Or a version
TV doesn't have new ideas.
That's right. It's definitely still happening. Yep.
Season 285. Anyways, when June is up somewhere high, I am not, just do it.
Oh, no.
My support is very different in those situations.
Yes.
When all of her bones fall out of her body because I asked her to put the cans in the can crusher, I change a little bit and I'm like, you can do this.
That's a little more high expectation than high support.
You know. And so I think we need to be aware of that, and as we understand our kids and see their hearts more and more, as we see them, we become more naturally aware of that.
Yeah. And for me, I have to write it down. Like I have notes on my kids. Because I cannot keep it all in my head, and I end up not being as intentional and kind and warm and thoughtful as I desire to be if I'm just like, oh yeah, Sonny likes that. Like if I pay attention to them and notice, and then I have to write it down, or it'll go whoosh right out the other side.
Yep.
And I used to feel silly. Like, am I really taking notes on my kids? Shouldn't I be able to remember this?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, no.
Someone really laughed at that. Don't shit all over me. This was advice Josh gave. He was like, sometimes if our kids are at a 9, we need to meet them where they are, and then as we come down, we show them how to come down with us. And so, like, if your kid is like stressed,
like on a scale of 1 to 10,
yeah, they're like panicked. You know, there are some times where you can just jump right in. Oh, I know, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. What are we gonna do? And like, as you do that, they'll all of a sudden be like, oh, my dad sees me.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you come down, you'll watch this magical thing where they come down.
Right.
And language that he says he uses is this a 2 problem or a 9 problem? Like he's given his kid that scale, his kids that scale, which allows you as a parent to understand where you're needed.
Yeah.
And a 9 problem is probably not a Brooke problem. It's probably a dad problem.
You
know, because it's too much noise for you.
Soundbar. Yeah. That's interesting. Sometimes I'm rereading it. If our kids are at a 9, we need to meet them where they are. Yeah, because I tend to, I'm not saying I don't ever come in hot at a 9 or a 10, but I naturally don't live any of my life at a 9 or a 10.
Right. I do think men can do this.
And so I'm verbally processing out loud while we're recording.
Let's do it, baby.
That like,
calling each other baby.
I definitely don't just like come in at a 2 super calm if they're stressed out. I'm at least up to like a 5. So they understand, like, I see you, I understand. But I am so focused on getting them to calm down quasi quickly that I don't know if they feel super seen. I don't know. I've never asked. I've never really truly thought about it.
But it's something you could at least test and measure. Like maybe if it's 8, 9, and 10, that's where I
need to freak out a little more.
That's where I come in. But if it's under an 8, I don't need to do that. I don't need to join them where they are because sometimes when our kids are so amped up, it really is hard for them to come down.
Yes.
And so maybe they do need that visual representation.
Well, yeah, and that's like that, what's that great quote that I'm not going to remember how to say it exactly, is like,
who let the dogs out?
Yes.
Rough. Is it that one?
Right. Who let the dogs out? It's 4.
4, sorry. Oh man. So embarrassing.
I know, right? On the podcast too. No, like we need something about how like we need to offer our kids our calm, not meet them in their chaos, which is like kind of the opposite of what we're saying right here. But I think differentiating when
you know what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah. Like, and I think that's the difference. And is that it's an intentional, you're going to be seen and I'm going to help bring you down versus like actually losing your mind right alongside them and adding your emotions to their plate.
But I also think that this can be a positive thing. I think a lot of times when our kids are as excited 8, 9, 10.
I know. I'm thinking about them like getting hurt or something or being really sad. Let's
say they're excited 8, 9, 10. The Mario movie's coming out. And we meet them at a 4, 5, 6.
Where I live all my life.
Which is not all your life.
No, I'm getting better.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
I think in excitement, we should meet them more where they are and really relish and enjoy what they're enjoying at that excited level.
Yeah.
Because I think it will allow them to be seen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'm just recapping as we go.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, they need us to see them. Number 2, they need to feel our love. Number 3, they need structure and rhythm. Number 4, they need a healthy mix of support and challenge. And number 5, they need identity. At the end of the day, every single one of us is a child who is running the circle of security. When we hit a real problem, when we hit a real or perceived threat, we turn our idols into God instead of using God as an attachment figure. Mm-hmm. So instead of running to God's hands of secure base and safe haven, we run to entertainment,
that
abuse,
we feel.
Food, technology. What you see is a father. In Matthew 3, what you see is the father was present in Jesus' life. The father affirmed him, and his identity was a son. The trouble is that when we start losing our identity as a son, we stop becoming a secure base and a safe haven for our kids. And so this is where Josh like just kind of nailed it home that like he's talking to a group of very successful men to varying degrees. And I was there.
I was waiting for that. And I was front row.
And Brad and I were there.
Yeah.
Every single one of us needs to be seen. And where are we on the path of emotional safety, which again is sort of that circle.
Like you personally.
Yeah, us personally as adults.
As adults,
where
are you?
Do we have feelings of security that we can go explore and we feel confident? Are we at a place where we see a real or perceived threat? Or are we running to safety because something has happened to us? And so I think understanding where we're experiencing the Father's presence, love, and affirmation in our lives will help us in our true identity as sons, which will then lead us into our true identity as fathers. And so while this is all about children, what our kids need from us, it's really about how we need to relate to God as a father as well. And when we do that, when we do those 5 things, when I know that God sees me, when I feel his love, when I live under the structure that he's given me in his word and live by that rhythm and those rules and those things, when I feel challenged by the way that he's convicting me, but also support in the way that he loves me. And when he gives me my identity, I'm a better person. And then I'm a better dad, I'm a better husband, I'm a better all these things. And so when we go out this week and try to parent our kids and try to add some of these things, and I'll probably just paste these notes in the show notes or paste them on a blog and link to it. I'll find a way so you guys can read this because sometimes I think having it to be able to refresh is really good. Actually, why don't you message us the word need
on Instagram,
and I'll have all caps or lowercase, but it has to just be the word need. Don't add an exclamation point. Don't add a question mark.
No.
Don't add an emoji. Spell it right. And I'll have a place where this is linked, and it will send you the notes, and then that way you can see them and read them. Because I think this is one of those podcasts where this could have such an impact on your life, but it won't be. It's not like, oh, the chair behind, that's super helpful today. Like this is definitely something that you have to like sit with and wrestle with and ask God for help with and go back to over and over again. But in doing so, you are going to show up better for your kids. You're going to show up better for everybody, and you're going to allow God to love you the way that he wants to love you.
So good.
So
good.
If you want to see Josh in person, which I know you do.
Yes.
July 9th, tickets are on sale. They're in the show notes. Honestly, don't miss it. We have early bird tickets right now. It's going to be...
Josh and Christy are going to be there.
Dr. Josh and Christy are going to be there. Jeremy the Gandalf Pryor is going to be there. And just added Brad Ellis from Ellis Custom Creations is going to be the MC and sort of
host. Yeah. Well, we're hosts, but you know what I mean.
He's going to be there.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
So...
That was so good. That was so good. I had read those obviously months ago when you went.
Same.
And I was just like, whoosh. And it's so encouraging to.
What's your, like, as you read this,
yeah,
what's your biggest takeaway? Like, what's something that stood out to you that, like, I need to either try that or I need to think about that more often? Again, because we're always trying to think of so many things. And Brooke just wrote a devotional about this, of just like how she has this joke where like, hey, you hear that this is poisonous for us now?
Everything's terrible for you.
Like everything, you know, like, you can't drink anything, you can't eat anything, don't drink water, like whatever, like all this kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And so it can just heighten this sense of like, what am I keeping track of?
Yeah.
Which again, is why you need to take the course Home Joy. But I think when we walk away with like a really good message like this, and I can say it's really good because it's not mine, it's Josh's.
Yeah.
There's this element of like, oh, I'm going to do all of that.
Yeah.
But that's impossible.
Yeah.
At least in the moment.
Yeah.
So for you, Brooke,
I once heard someone say, if you want to be an idealist, you're going to have to work a lot harder.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
I'm not saying
that's what I'm trying to do.
It's not impossible to add them all over time.
Correct.
But if you
run at all of them all at once, you're going to drop the ball a little bit.
And so what is one thing that you feel like this is something I want to work on?
One thing, I think maybe I'd have to pick two, which is we already use the on a scale of 1 to 10 with them, but we really only use it with like how they're feeling physically when they don't feel well.
Yeah.
Like, are you at
how
a 1?
hungry they are.
Are you at a 10? Like that kind of stuff. I've never asked them to rate their excitement or rate other things like that to just try to get a gauge on like what really does.
Yeah, to like study them.
Like study them. I'm like, oh, she always rates that a 7 and yet she always rates that a 4. Like they're different. And so like that's another way to pay attention to that. And that's also helpful to me to try to meet them at their level, their number level. So that's probably one. And then I would say probably the second one. They need to feel our love. And then those 3 strategies, right? The showing love and affection, how you manage stress, and how you treat a spouse. I think how I manage stress and how I treat a spouse are okay. I think there's always room for growth, but I'm not like, yeesh, that's me. But the like showing love and affection, I'm not a lovey-dovey physical person. Sorry about that, T. I'm working on it. I really am.
Okay.
But I know it carries over into my kids.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for listening.
Yes.
Thank you for making us a part of your week. Remember to text a friend about the podcast.
Or DM us the word need if you want the notes from today's episode. Okay,
I love you. Bye.